it's Jacqueline. I am so glad you're back. Today we're going to be thinking about limit lines and tire stripes. I bet that you look at the white or yellow lines that are crossing intersections and you think about them as crosswalks. Most people, because they've lived their lives first as pedestrians, think about the lines in terms of their own perspective. But once you're a driver, you're going to be looking at the lines and the stripes on the road, knowing that they were painted just for you so that you would know how to stay safe and how to keep other people safe. So while we're driving down the road, we're going to pay special attention to limit lines, the first and second limit lines we see while we're driving, and tire stripes. Sometimes they're white, like up ahead, and sometimes they're yellow if it's an extra caution area. So the traffic engineers use yellow paint to let you know to be extra cautious. But either way, the limit lines and the tire stripes tell you a lot about how to make a safe turn. We're going to make a left turn here. We're going to have a protected left arrow, so it's a pretty basic turn. To make sure that we stay within our limits of our turn, we have the two limit lines ahead of us, the diagonal tire stripes, which would be helpful if we were making a right turn, and this dotted line that guides us around directly back on to our tire stripes, those yellow stripes. Limit lines and tire stripes. That's what I want you to be on the lookout for when you're watching this video. And when you're a passenger driving around with a friend, I want you to notice all the things that are painted on the ground that help to keep you safe. So here we are. We come up to our first limit line and we stop for the sidewalk crossing. And because we stopped in perfect position, as soon as the first limit line disappeared from our view, the pedestrians in front of us can cross safely. We don't interfere with them at all. If we were making a right or left turn here, the second limit line would also be important because it would show us how far forward to go before we start our turn. Since we're going straight, we're keeping focused on our left limit line and our right limit line to help us stay right centered in our lane. And now we're going to make a left at this stop sign, and we're going to see how the first and second limit lines are important. The first limit line is where we stop to make sure that pedestrians can cross safely. But we also need to know how far forward we can go before we start our left turn. So we track our left mirror and we turn once our left mirror has passed the second limit line. You're not thinking about it like a crosswalk anymore. Now you're thinking about it as first limit lines and second limit lines, both for the driver, which is going to be you. At every stop, we check right and left to make sure that nobody's crossing. And we're going to make a left turn at the next stop sign, and we're going to pay attention to the limit lines and the tire stripes. We stop at our first limit line to make sure that these folks can pass safely. They're telling me to go, but their child is in front of me in the road. That's a good reminder not to let other people tell you where to go. You're the driver and you're responsible for keeping everybody safe. Because this family crossed left and now they're crossing again, I'm just giving them some extra time, holding my stop until they safely clear the intersection. But then I'm going to follow my tire stripes forward until my left mirror passes the second limit line. I make my turn and I land in perfect position. That was a really, really good example where we had a better view than the pedestrians on the side of the road. Both the father and grandfather of those two little children on bikes were waving me to go ahead, even though one of their precious young people was right in front of me in the way. Obviously, I would not go. So when you're the driver, you remember that it's your job to keep people safe, even if somebody is being impatient and waving you on to go. I'm going to creep out to my second limit line, matching my mirror. I can tell I'm in the right position when my left mirror is directly on top of the limit line, and now I can see clearly to make my next turn. And let's make another right turn here. If there were pedestrians, I would stop at the first limit line. Since there aren't, I'm going to curve out till my mirror passes the second limit line. And that's how I knew how far forward to go to make a safe right turn wrapping around that corner. The traffic engineers have worked really hard to paint the road to match our cars so that we don't bump into each other. Let's observe this limit line to stop for the pedestrians, and then practice using the tire stripes to know exactly how far forward to go. I travel forward on my tire stripes. When my mirror passes the end, I start turning, and then I land perfectly on these tire stripes. And I know I'm in good position because my car is going directly over the stamps. Now I'm going to make a left at this turn. I stop first at the limit line. I check to make sure that it's safe from both sides, and then I follow my tire stripes out and around. And once you start noticing the limit lines and the tire stripes, you're going to have a sense of how you're going to drive around the community and just stay in your perfect position, following the patterns that the traffic engineers laid out for us. Let's make a left turn at this light. We advance to the second limit line, make sure it's safe. We turn the corner and we land perfectly on our tire stripes. And all the way up the road, we're noticing double limit lines. First limit line and second limit line. First limit line, where we pause safely for pedestrian crossing. And second limit line, so we know how far forward to go before we make our left turn, so that we land in perfect position. All over the state of California, we use uniform colors. We use white for our road lines, our limit lines to show us where we stop for pedestrians. We use yellow when there's points of extra caution. And here we get another good example. We stop at the first limit line. We check the sidewalk. We see our tire stripes ahead. They show us how far forward we should go before we start our turn so that we end up perfectly positioned in our lane. Once you learn how the traffic engineers have painted the roads and you can see clearly the limit lines and the tire stripes, it's going to be really fun for you to drive around, whether you're the new driver practicing or whether you're with a friend and you're just noticing the good driving habits of your friends. We always stop at the first limit line. And because we're going straight, the second limit line doesn't really mean much to us. The second limit line only means something to us, the driver, if we are turning right or left, because it shows us how far forward we should go before we initiate our turn. We curve a little to the right here to get back into our lane, observing the yellow limit line. And we're getting into a tighter neighborhood, so we're driving a little slower, even though the speed limit is 25 in residential areas. If it's a narrow road and you have poor visibility, just slow down a little bit. It'll make you feel safer. It'll make all the parents in the community feel safer. It's just nicer to have a little bit of a slower pace in narrow roads. Right now I'm going 18 miles an hour, and it feels perfect for these road conditions. Going to make a right turn at this next corner. I see that it's unprotected from the left and right, so I'm just doing a double check to make sure that no one's coming before I turn. And there's a wide vehicle on the right-hand side. They've given me an orange caution, which lets me know to be extra careful. And I'm continuing forward, cautiously scanning. And now I'm going to practice pulling over to park on the right-hand side. Signal, mirror blind spot, angle toward the curb, straighten out, and come to a stop, parallel and in perfect position. The trash can is a good reminder to help me understand where the front right corner of the car is. I can look in my side mirror and I see that I'm parallel to the curb, and there's about this much distance between my back door handle and the curb. I can visually check that. I look to the left, I see I'm stacked with all the cars. I'm not sticking out. I won't disturb passing traffic. I'm going to call this a good stop. Good driving.